r/AskReddit, what evil prank have you pulled off? One summer in college, I worked in the registrar's office, registering all the incoming freshmen. A professor who was a mentor to me was teaching freshman seminar and asked me to handpick a class for her. Straight A students, high SATs, whatever. So I did. 15 students, all named Sarah. My mom's laptop wallpaper was a picture of her granddaughter. I copied the picture 100 times and made her wallpaper a slideshow of the same picture over and over again, so the file would change but nothing would change visibly on the monitor. The pictures would change every 10 seconds. On one of the images I painted a tiny little curly mustache on her. So randomly for 10 seconds my niece would have a mustache. My mom thought she was either losing her mind or had a computer virus, and every time the mustache popped up, it was gone by the time she tried to show anyone. I saw a post about switching around Mayo and vanilla pudding, emptied out a Mayo jar and cleaned it well, filled it with a few pots worth of vanilla pudding and took it to uni. Our uni is very lax about eating during the lectures, so I waited until midday when I was sitting in the middle of all my friends and they were all eating their lunch. Cue me taking out the jar of mayo, and a spoon, popping the lid and taking a big ol' spoonful with a grin. At first only the closest ones noticed, but after the third spoon it was like everyone was frozen around me. Pin drop silence. After the fifth spoon someone retched and the spell was broken. The looks of sheer terror and disgust was well worth the pain of eating vanilla pudding. I'm a chocolate kinda gal. The AM supervisor at my office is a short little man who likes to work from a laptop on a rolling adjustable desk. For over a year I gradually raised the height of this desk and watched as he went from sitting on a stool, to an adjustable tall task chair, to standing. Last week he removed the wheels from the desk to lower the height. He doesn't realize it's adjustable. My parents worked nights when I was in middle school, and I stayed at my friend's house while my parents were at work. This friend loved to torment me. One day, his 13-year-old brain thought it'd be funny to pee off the deck onto the feral cats in the yard below. I told him I was going to tell his mother, went inside and told her. When Trevor walks in, just act disgusted. He walked in, she told him how disappointed she was in him, having no idea what he did, to which he replied, I swear to God Mom, he's lying, I didn't pee on those cats. Watching his face as he realized I told her nothing and he just told on himself was one of the highlights of my youth. A friend kept trying to steal my sushi off my plate at a sushi restaurant. So while she wasn't looking, I stuffed it full of wasabi, put a bit of fish back on top to cover my tracks, and pretended to not be looking when she started reaching towards it. She tossed it into her mouth, started chewing down, and I just swung my head towards her to say, you messed up. 5 minutes of coughing, muffled screaming, and copious amounts of water later, she had learnt her lesson. At my sister's swim meet, I found an ice machine tucked away in a garage-looking thing. So I started collecting the ice and somehow managed to put ice in nearly everyone's shoe at the meet. It was a wild, beautiful moment of pure confusion and chaos. Everyone started freaking out and no one knew it was the little shy girl who secretly enjoyed turmoil. I can meow just like a cat. In fact, I can do it so well that people will often look around for the cat that is not there. This has resulted in several hilarious instances of strangers running around frantically looking for the cat and me sitting off to the side watching. Stray cats will usually stare at me for a couple seconds before continuing doing whatever. Pet cats will usually hold a conversation with me, particularly if they're chatty. Edit. The confusion of everyone's pets fuels the Lady of Cats and she is pleased by your offerings of Reddit awards. Back in middle school, my best friend and me sent an email to a newspaper claiming to be a famous person, stating we would be running in the upcoming presidential election, and that they'd hear the details shortly. The next day, all the main newspapers over here printed it and some started speculating about the strategy, until it was all officially denied. At which point the person and their company started speculating themselves about who and why would plant such a story, unaware it was just two kids who accidentally found a spoof emailing app in the iPhone jailbroken app store. I used to work at a science tutoring center when I was in college and my gap year before professional school. One of the things we taught very often was anatomy. So naturally we acquired a few skeletons and various skulls with some variation in how they looked or were marked, etc. Well, I was closing one night, and I knew my coworker was opening the next morning early, so before I locked up I assorted all of the skeletons and skulls in a welcome party near the front door. I had one immediately at the opening of the only door into the room with several backup skeletons and skulls just behind at a table together watching on. The best part was that you have to turn on the lights manually and that switch is immediately to the side of the door opening, so when she reached down to turn on the lights she had to come face to face with some lifeless skeleton skull in the middle of the shady opening. Needless to say she screamed, and it was loud enough to make our boss come to see if she was okay. Woke up to some colorful texts LMAO. Still proud of that one honestly. I created a fake uniform policy poster for my high school. It wasn't perfect but people were idiots so they fell for it. It took everyone about a week to actually read the poster and see that it was obviously fake. Some people still showed up on the first day wearing the uniform that I designed. Edit, the uniform wasn't anything idiotic looking. Just khaki pants, white button shirt, church shoes, and black socks. The outrage was mostly from the fact that people couldn't wear their name brand clothes as a flex. In the break room, called my coworker in. I had a chair, plastic cup with an inch of water in it, and a broom in the corner. I asked him to help me stick the cup on the ceiling, climbed on the chair, and he held the cup up with the broom. Then I said, "Wanna see a cool trick?" Climbed off the chair and walked away with it. You could hear him cussing and yelling out in the parking lot. Working in a hot factory, supervisor and job planner in this enclosed cubicle with a window AC unit in the middle of the shop aka nice 68 degrees in there while we sweat our ass off in 95 to 110 degrees heat. Kinda hot and pissy and always flies around. I kept grabbing the flies alive, walking into the cubicle to ask a usually legit question or say I'm just cooling off and opening my hand behind my back. I put 14 of those flies in there in one shift. He never did catch on I was doing it and the planner was pissed swatting around. There were so many flies in there. Supervisor was cleaning out every crevice thinking some food is supporting life now somewhere. Not me, but a story my mom used to tell on my dad. I don't know what it was about my dad's digestive system, but anything he ate comes out smelling bad. Really bad. As in, after he was in the bathroom no one else could go in there for at least a half hour longer if he forgot to open the window. Honestly, the smell would gag a maggot. Heaven forbid you be the one mom sent in there to open the window when he forgot. One night dad came home from work, night shift, got in bed, stuck his butt out of the covers and passed a really rancid one, then pulled the covers up over his head so he didn't have to smell it. But what he didn't know was that mom had eaten something for supper that was just as noxious on its way out. She waited till he got his head under the covers and got a good seal on it, and let one rip. She said he came out from under those covers like a shot, gagging the whole time. I convinced a coworker for 2 months that the guy she had sat next to for 3 years was named Jay, not Dave. They worked in different departments but sat 3 feet away from each other for years. I got the guy in on it. And his manager. Then later his supervisor, group manager, division manager, and entire department. They bought him new nameplates for his desk, changed stuff in the system, so his name would print as Jay, etc. The only thing they didn't change was his phone number and email. She thought she was going crazy, and when I finally told her, she sucker punched me in the stomach and dropped me to my knees. She was a personal trainer in her off hours, so she got me good. Totally worth it, and I laugh about it to this day over a decade later. Dude was harassing my ex because he used to have her cell phone number. Was being a real freaking creep. Anyways, I created an email address, signed up to Kijiji and placed an ad offering an 80 inches 3D TV for free with some excuse about a bad breakup and not wanting her to get it. I asked people to only text or call. I then went to bed and forgot all about it until the next day at work. I get a text from my ex asking if I had done something on Kijiji. The dude was begging her to take the ad down and apologizing. I checked the email and there were 5 pages of responses even though I had told them not to email but to call or text. Dude's phone must have been ringing constantly. I took the ad down and she never heard from him again. Husband dislikes ranch. Hates it. Loathes it. I put ranch on everything. Ranch in dips, ranch seasoning on vegetables. Ranch. It's my long con. One day he will mess up big time. Oh yeah? Well, I've been feeding you ranch for years. Edit. Curse you all for making me add an edit. It's a prank and a joke. I love my husband. We are perfect for one another. We can play harmless jokes on one another and not get divorced. He can read this whole thread anytime he would like. Please take it in the spirit of the thread, and stop trying to be my psychiatrist. One that was played on me. I took my SATs, college entrance exams, for those outside the US, on April 1st. Should have known, right? But apparently, I'm not that smart. That night I went out with a group of friends, and when I got home my mom met me with a serious look on her face. She told me that the testing committee had called, that there had been an error and all test papers from that day were lost. Everyone was being contacted to schedule a date to retake the exam. She totally sold it. Face, reactions, everything. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. And she let me believe it until lunchtime the next day. My mom is a diabolical person. My high school had an open campus for lunch, and there was one very popular way to get from the parking lot to the rest of the campus that went between the sports complex and one of the classroom buildings. Coming back from a restaurant I needed to piss really bad, and my friend that was driving wouldn't stop, so I emptied my cup and pissed in it. Was it gross? Yeah, but I didn't get piss all over myself or his car, so it was a wash. When we got back to school, there was still about 10 minutes before the bell, so the rush of students was about to begin. I didn't throw the cup away, I sat it on the sidewalk, and waited from a distance. Most everyone who saw it, avoided it. But one poor soul saw it, and got his buddies to slow down to create a little bit of room so that he could run and punt the piss cup. He kicked it like it was gonna be the game-winning field goal of homecoming. The cup exploded. It went all over his pants. It went all around the area. It was a mess. One of my friends said he shared a class with the guy during the last half of the day, and everyone else in the class kept murmuring about how this dude pissed himself during lunch and didn't clean up after himself. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We upload videos almost daily.